Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolf. That's the Hall of Famer Chris Carter. That is Nick Wright.
Welcome back, Jenna Wolf.
We are all officially now back from vacation. We are all officially knee-deep in World Cup.
Yes.
And I genuinely missed you guys. I thought about you at least, there was like I think I forgot. I think I remembered. I remember that I worked
all the
with
lies
you.
in the air. I mean, those came crashing down 40 seconds in.
I genuinely did. I did miss you, Nick.
Both of you guys have very nice tans.
Oh, thank you very much. We all went to different spots
that rich
a little
life.
south of here.
Oh, please. I don't think you were.
It was a wonderful time. It looked like you had Nevis.
I was in Nevis.
Family.
You were down in Turks.
People don't know where I'm at.
No one knows where you are. You were in Tribeca, and you visited the lovely, lovely Belize, correct?
Yes, it was a wonderful time, and we're great to have you back.
Awesome. Should we...
We got a lot of fans abroad.
We do. We do.
People love Jenna Wolf. Nick Wright?
Now you're keeping lies in the air.
Not so much. All right. While we were all sleeping, no, not so much. We start this morning with the NBA regular season awards. Even though the NBA regular season ended April 11th. I'll give you a moment to let that sink in, and then I will take the moment back to announce, as sort of expected, James Harden won the NBA MVP, beating out both LeBron James and Anthony Davis. 86 of 101 votes to win Harden's first ever MVP award. CC, I'll start with you. What does this award mean for James Harden's legacy?
It's always typically this type of award, it's a certain type of validation. And for Harden, if you can look at from the time he was in high school to deciding where he was going to go to college, he's always been just a little underrated. There's always been people considered to be better. And OKC, he's the only player in NBA history to get the Sixth Man of the Year award and also to win the MVP. Bill Walton did it, but he did it in reverse order. He was MVP, and then he went back to being a role player. But when you look at how he's evolved, how his game's evolved, how his reputation around the league has become so well respected, and the type of scoring, he did it when they were winning. They won 65 games. Only 20 teams in the history of this league have been able to do that. So to be able to get 30, it's not like he's just compounding stats on an average or a bad basketball team. No, he was on a good, potentially a great basketball team, led them, played the best basketball we've seen, and it's kind of a validation of what he's done the last couple years, because we see guys that are in the top three as far as MVP maybe once every 8 years or something, or they have a couple appearances throughout their career.
Or just once in their career.
Yeah, Harden, I mean, people can argue he's gotten robbed twice. And that's because of great seasons. And the third thing, I'll probably leave it at this, is look what the kind of season LeBron James had. 15th season in the league, playing all 82 games. Look at the type of season Anthony Davis had with the Pelicans. And for Harden and for all the voters to say he had even a better season than those,
right.
I think that feather in his cap, when LeBron is in his prime, saying I won in that year, I think is significant.
And that he beat LeBron in a way I would say is fair and square. It wasn't LeBron fatigue. It wasn't a backlash to a decision like Derrick Rose's MVP was. It wasn't this is new and different the way Steph Curry's first MVP was. Steph Curry's second MVP, there's no question about it.
It wasn't two other guys got hurt, and so he was the last guy standing.
He earned it. He was the best player on the best team, a historically good regular season team. And so you guys know how much I really am invested in NBA history. Like, this cements James Harden to me as right now the fifth greatest shooting guard ever. You got MJ, West, Kobe, and Wade are the four guys with better resumes than him. But those last two guys, Kobe and Wade, you can argue never had a better singular season than Harden did this year. If we look at their best seasons, there's Harden's best season, there's Kobe's MVP season, and then D. Wade, the closest he came to an MVP, is third-place finish. Harden leads them all in points, leads them all in assists. Now, Wade was the most efficient of the group, but this was, you could make the argument, this was the best season a shooting guard has had since Michael Jordan was playing. That's what, from an offensive perspective. And so this, to me, if you care about the NBA history and the rankings, this notches Harden above Clyde Drexler, above George Gervin. If you want to go way back into the archives, above Sam Jones. He's now got the same number of MVPs, Jenna, as Kobe, as Shaq, as Dirk, as Durant, as KG, as Barkley, as Iverson. Like, it's a very short list of guys with multiple, and it's a very long list of guys like Dwayne Wade, who were amazing players, but never got one. Harden now has one.
Is there something then a little, and I don't know if this is too rough a word, bittersweet about him winning this, about his team winning 65 games, about this being the year that they should have gone all the way, all the pieces sort of fit into place, and then them falling short?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure that Executive of the Year, Daryl Morey, your friend, and he won that. Harden won the MVP, of course. But they much rather, they give those back to be able to get Game 6, have Chris Paul healthy Game 7, and to be able to get one of those. Because if you get through that, you're definitely going to beat Cleveland. I mean, so, yes, it is definitely bittersweet. But this is who the Rockets are. This is what Harden is in the same position Kevin Durant was in a couple seasons ago. But he's staying at home. He's staying in Houston with them to get a chance to finally get over that hump, with the championship being the only thing now that Houston and Harden and that group that they have together is missing.
Well, so two things on your question. One, we're going to need something of a historical lens when we look at this season for Houston, because if Golden State wins the next two, right, and nobody takes them to 6 games, just like the Cavs haven't only. And we look at it and we say, wow, in this run with Golden State since they got Durant, the only team to actually push them in a series was this team.
Yep.
That's not a championship, but it will be remembered more fondly than typically the team with home court advantage losing in 7 would be remembered. But the other thing about Golden State is, and this is what can at times be frustrating for me, is since Durant went there, this is the type of, this year the Rockets should have been champions. In 95% of NBA seasons, a team this good with home court, even with Chris Paul getting injured in the final 2 games of the Western Conference Finals, they would have been favorites over Cleveland without Chris Paul. Even if Chris Paul missed the NBA Finals, against almost every team in NBA history, this Rockets team is up 3-2 with James Harden and home court advantage. They win that series. They go on to then win the championship. They're just up. They ran up against the most talented team, arguably in NBA history. And then there is, of course, some irony about the best player on the Rockets playing with the Thunder, the best player on the Warriors playing with the Thunder, those 3 MVPs that now the Thunder drafted in 3 consecutive years.
So let's get back to James Harden winning the MVP. You called him underrated. Why is this athlete so underrated?
Well, I would just say, as far as the hierarchy, I would say maybe not underrated. I would say that there has been a lack of respect for what he does.
How come?
Like, we just take it for granted. Like, his style offensively, people might not like it. He draws a lot of fouls, but he plays a very, very smart brand of basketball. Also, the numbers work out as far as how many threes he's going to shoot. Now, we have other people that shoot threes, but we have no one else that scores like he scores. So I think that just around the league, we're in a unique era with Steph and the way he plays, and LeBron, his power and overall versatility, and KD, the sniper. Like, Harden has tried to, like, fit in. And last year, Russell Westbrook. So Harden right now, he's going to start to get some of what you call the respect that he's due based on how consistent he's been the last 3 years.
And one of the other, when you say shooting threes, other than LeBron, nobody in the league creates more threes. So in a three-point shooting league, it's not just that Harden can hit them, he creates them for teammates. But when it comes to respect, it's a weird thing. Typically, guys that the league has to change rules because of, that is a badge of honor. Like when they had to change a rule for Wilt, or for Kareem, or when we named it the Hack-a-Shaq because of Shaq, when they remove hand. They changed the rule because of James Harden. James Harden was so good at drawing fouls on the 3 with the rip-through move. Kevin Durant was doing it. Harden really perfected it. They changed the rule. People with Harden look at it in a different way. They look at it like he's gaming the system, like he's almost found a cheat code. And aesthetically, a guy that every year leads the league in free throw attempts, fans just don't like watching parades to the foul line. But in a league that has never been more analytical and never been smarter in how the game is run, Harden is one of the smartest players in the league.
And has learned how to do that as well as anyone.
And the last thing is, you have to give him a little bit of credit, because he's playing defense better. And I think that's created more respect around the NBA world.
Absolutely.
Right. James Harden is your NBA MVP. We will talk more about that. Chris Broussard is going to join us to discuss as well. But coming up on the other side, an NBA superstar is recruiting LeBron. That's next on First Things First.
Hi, I'm Alexi Lawless. I used to play soccer back in the 1900s for the U.S. Now you can find me talking about soccer this summer during the World Cup on Fox. Now through July 15th, you can get daily FIFA World Cup updates from me through your Alexa-enabled device. Just say, Alexa, play the Fox Sports Flash Briefing, and you'll get the latest tournament news straight from Russia. Alexa and Alexi. Now that's a winning team. Don't forget to watch the 2018 FIFA World Cup all tournament long live on Fox and FS1.
Welcome back. Time for stories to start your morning. Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson was robbed of the MVP last season. That, according to Vikings linebacker Anthony Barr, who said it should have gone to Wilson. CC, you believe Russell Wilson should have been the MVP in 2017 over Tom Brady?
I mean, he played a style of football that's hard for anyone else in the league to play. I mean, he ran for his life. And the reason why he did run for his life, that offensive line was not very good. He had a sensational season. But he wasn't better than Tom Brady.
And they didn't make the playoffs.
No, I mean, he just wasn't better. With the amount of emphasis that we put on the quarterback and the quarterback winning, it wasn't his fault. He had a spectacular season, but Tom Brady was the real MVP.
Listen, I think Russell Wilson's one of the more underrated players in this league still. I think he's great, but he shouldn't have been the MVP last year. While he didn't have an offensive line, Brady dealt most of the year without a defense and still took his team to the #1 seed, won that game against Pittsburgh thanks to that great drive at the end of the fourth quarter down the field to Gronk. Listen, Russell was great. He wasn't the MVP last year. You can't be the MVP if you don't make the playoffs in the NFL. It's just how it works.
Jenna's guy, Case Keenum, was higher ranked than him.
Let's pump the brakes.
To the NBA, the Nuggets plan to give Nikola Jokic a 5-year, $147 million contract. Jokic averaged 18 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists last season, but is he worth a max deal? Nick, what do you think of the Nuggets' decision?
I know my friends on NBA Twitter, my friends in the analytics community are going to try to revoke my card for this, but Jokic has gone from being an underrated, really good player to an overrated, really good player. Like he because he plays in Denver and because he's such a good passer at the center position, I mean, he gives you triple doubles some nights. You're not going to like paying him $30 million a year. I'm just telling you right now. He's a guy who sometimes can't be on the fourth quarter in big games. He's a guy you can't throw the ball to and guarantee a bucket. Like, he's not a defensive force. He's a really good player. He's not a max player.
What were their other choices, though?
Well, they actually did this preemptively. They're turning down an option so they can give him his money early. I don't think they needed to pay him right now.
We're always going to see guys like this with their timing being perfect, the team on an uptick, that they feel like, man, we got to keep one of our guys there. Hassan Whiteside, last year with the Miami Heat, is he really worth the money? But the timing, though. Do you want to let him go somewhere else and continue to develop? So Denver was stuck with it. We're always going to see this, so I'm cool with it. Get that paper, Brett. Get it. Get it, man.
Cool with it.
I told you about hating on people's money, man.
I just got to be honest, man.
Moving on to Lonzo Ball, who's coming off an up-and-down rookie season. His head coach, Luke Walton, says Ball has taken a big step in the offseason. Didn't say forward or backward. CC, what are realistic expectations for Lonzo now in year 2?
I think it's a lot easier to analyze him as a basketball player in year number 2. I believe he's going to be playing with better players, but, man, let's not forget, he does a lot of things that we really love. He's unselfish, potentially can be a superstar, but a guy that's unselfish and can pass first, make his teammates better. Rebounds the basketball, gets the ball in transition very, very well, and from what we're hearing with his teammates, he's very, very good around the Lakers organization. So they have a winner in that. We know he's got to improve his shot. We see that he's gained some weight. He's been in the weight room, so those things will improve. So I believe those are realistic expectations. Improve his jump shot and take care of his body better.
Listen, he was 10-7-7 last year. I think next year he's a 15-10-7 guy. I think he will take a significant leap forward. I don't know if it will be with the Lakers. It might be with the San Antonio Spurs if they end up trading for Kawhi Leonard. But listen, I'm still bullish on Lonzo Ball. I'm a buyer on Lonzo Ball. The shot won't be worse than last year.
All right, finally, Ben Simmons won Rookie of the Year last night after missing the 2016-2017 season due to injury. Simmons averaged 15 points, 8 boards, 8 assists a game while leading the Sixers to 50 wins. Nick, did the voters get it right?
Absolutely, and when you look at the vote, it was a landslide. This was, I understand Donovan Mitchell had the late campaign that he's not really a rookie, so I should win the award.
He showed up to the awards in a big van.
that said rookie question mark thanks to his friends at Adidas.
Yeah.
But really is conceding the argument.
Sure.
If your argument isn't, I was better than him, simply it is, he's ineligible
and
for
I'm
the
an
award.
actual rookie.
Right. That means, listen, Ben Simmons was, by the rules that we have in place, which are, if you have never played in a game in the NBA, no matter when you were drafted, the first year you play in a game, you're a rookie. He was the best. And he was, what the 15-8-8 doesn't talk about is his defensive impact. This guy was a very good defender for no other reason than he has such overwhelming size. I know there are legitimate questions about whether he'll ever be able to shoot, but what he did as a rookie was borderline historic from filling up the box score category, and he was the best rookie. He should have won Rookie of the Year.
Yes, and the conversation shouldn't be about his jump shot. It's about what he did in this season. He definitely earned the award, his versatility, the ability to be able to score the basketball, rebound the basketball, and assist to his teammates at a young age. The NBA has got to be very, very excited about what his future looks like, and especially next to Joel Embiid or whoever else they're going to have in Philadelphia. So he had a tremendous season. The conversation shouldn't be about, okay, right now, how good his jump shot's going to be. That's inevitable. I mean, that's going to be the next tier for him. But in this season, I mean, he was spectacular. Like, we just can't forget sometimes being in the moment. I mean, at the record-breaking portion that he played at, as far as the triple-doubles this young in his career, like, we haven't seen that, and we should acknowledge that, and that's what the voters did.
But if he is filling up the box score like he did, having the rookie year that he did with the experience that he has, does it matter that much that he's not shooting the ball the way we'd like him to?
We saw it matter in the playoffs, and it will matter. Like, guys will exploit that, and he was the #1 overall pick. The #1 overall pick, yeah, you want him to win Rookie of the Year when he plays, but you also don't want him to top out at 15 points a game. Like, if you want him to be.
I mean, there's no young player that has a complete game, Jenna. So we have to. How is he going to get better? And the way we've seen these players and the way they evolve is we've seen other great players struggle with their jump shot. We haven't seen the situation where a guy might shoot left-handed, then occasionally shoot right-handed. We haven't seen that with the type of talent that he has. So, yes, the conversation will continue to be how effectively can he shoot, because if not, he's just going to be like a utility player compared to being one of the superstars that we have in the NBA.
All right, it is Tuesday, which means we are on the LeBron James watch. Also, see Wednesday through Sunday. Where will LeBron go next year? Well, get this. Yesterday, it came out that LeBron James isn't interested in any fancy recruiting pitches from teams this offseason. He knows what they all have to offer. He's got to make a decision. Joel Embiid made his pitch pretty simple in an interview with USA Today.
He's the best player in the league at this moment, so I think he takes us to another level, which is important, because at the end of the day, I want to be a champion, and I want to do it myself, and I want to have a lot to do with winning a championship or bringing a championship back to the city of Philadelphia.
So we have discussed this a number of times. What do we think is the most important issue for LeBron James as he makes this decision? And one of them is winning a title. Do you think Philadelphia, CC, is the best destination for LeBron to win a championship?
It's a very good destination because the overall talent that they have. In Joel Embiid's interview right there, you pick up some things, too, that I believe would be very good for LeBron. People don't talk about his effect on younger players, what a great teammate he is. And those two together, I mean, it's the type of force that we only see in the NBA as far as inside, outside, the type of power that they can play with, the size they would have on the court with Ben Simmons. So Philly is a great place for LeBron. But LeBron has so much versatility that if you look at all the teams, what if he went to the Celtics? Well, how good would they be? If he goes to San Antonio, if him and Kawhi go there, they just need a point guard to get a steady play there. They're going to be very good. And if he goes to Houston, which I might believe might be the best spot because of the maturity of Harden and Chris Paul and their overall experience right now. So I believe Philadelphia is a great spot for LeBron over the course of 4 or 5 years. I believe it's the best spot because he's got those young guns to be able to run with. Now, Houston, over the next 2 years, I believe Houston is probably the best spot.
So I'm so glad you said at the end there, because we've got to, if the question is specifically, let's assume LeBron is playing one more year in the NBA. That's it. He said, next year's my last year. I want to go out a champion. Where should he go? Then Houston probably is the answer. Because then you don't have to worry about Chris Paul at age 36, 37, 38.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about, okay, with those, their contracts, how are they ever going to be able to add players? Like, you're just worried about the here and now. Houston probably would be the best spot for next season. But I think Philly would be second on that list just because I don't think Boston's a real option for him, just like Golden State's not a real option for him. So Philly would be, I think, the second best place to win a championship next year and the best place in the long haul because Simmons is 20 and Embiid is 24. Like, their ages go nicely with LeBron's 33. So I think you're right on Houston. But Houston also, it's more complicated. And we will know something about Houston, by the way, before July 1st free agency. LeBron's opt-in deadline is Friday, June 29th. If he doesn't opt in, then you can basically cross Houston off the list.
Is Boston off the table because of Kyrie?
I think Boston's off the table because I don't think Boston is trying. I think there's the Kyrie factor. And I think the only people talking about Boston are people like us. I don't think Boston is actually talking about how are we going to go get LeBron James. Like,
right. That's what Scalabrine.
Yes.
You know, and he's in with the Boston brass there, Danny Ainge. So that's what he thought. And it's a good conversation. It's just as good as having a conversation LeBron going to the Warriors. Like, we know that there's only a slim to zero chance of that happening, but that's how we group the conversation to be able to add. I believe there's two real destinations outside of Cleveland, that being Philadelphia and Houston.
Philadelphia has
besides the Lakers,
right.
yes.
And Philadelphia has financially an easier path to landing him, right? Than
Philadelphia can sign him outright. Houston, that's why I'm bringing up the opt-in deadline. Houston would have to be a trade for him. Boston would have to be a trade for him. Similar to San Antonio, it would have to be a trade for him. Cleveland obviously can keep him. Philly can sign him outright. The Lakers can sign him outright. Miami is, by the way, still lurking somewhere. He was there this weekend. Their Vegas odds jumped up a little bit, but that one's hard to see.
Okay. All right. We'll wait and see what happens. Coming up, how soon will it be until Josh Rosen is the starter in Arizona? That's next on First Things First. Coach Eric Mangini is with us. We're going viral. This offseason, Kirk Cousins signed a deal with the Vikings. That includes a guaranteed $84 million. He gets $84 million. No questions asked. However, check this out. He still drives a beat-up 2000 GMC Savannah van that he bought for $5,000 from his grandmother. Oh, Coach, why?
Well, I don't know, but he better buy snow tires. That thing's going to get stuck, and an extra battery because it's cold.
And I want to know.
And a parka.
And unless he bought that it's a 2000.
Yep.
Unless he bought it in 2002, Grandma got him. $5,000 for that. When was he buying it? I'd say, Grandma, let me see the blue book.
Yeah,
I feel like
sometimes you have people, you take the cars off their hands, they stop driving and everything. He had a couple dollars sitting around, so but he does need an emergency kit with that in Minnesota.
Yeah. Sweet windows, though.
Yeah. My daughter works for the team. She required a new car going up there.
Yeah, she's going to be rolling in the parking lot something a lot nicer than that.
Oh, man. Yeah. Anyway, we love
Absolutely.
you, Kirk Cousins. Moving on to other football things, the Arizona Cardinals have a good problem on their hands. Go with off-season quarterback acquisition in Sam Bradford or the rookie stud Josh Rosen. Now, Larry Fitzgerald said recently, teams don't bring in young players for their health. They're bringing them in to take your job. Bradford figures to be the starter. Rosen said that Bradford has, quote, been helping him a ton so far. Coach, what can a veteran quarterback do at this stage to really help a rookie?
Look, veterans can do a ton for rookies, regardless of what position it is. And we always forget how difficult a transition it is for guys. And any position, they go from being the big man on campus, knowing the system, knowing the players, to now they're in completely a foreign environment. They've got so much to learn. And in that spot, Sam Bradford can help him with the transition. He can help him with learning the playbook. He can help him with the coverages because he's going to see things that he's never seen before. And then every single step along the way, being able to guide him through that process. There's only so much as coaches that we can do. Having another player to give you insight into best practices is huge, huge.
Not only what are the best practices, but what's the communication? How do you communicate around here? How does he communicate with the offensive coordinator? How does a quarterback communicate with the rest of the offensive team? Those things become very, very important. We think that guys from college come into pro football and they don't know anything about pro football. They know zero about pro football. Their college coaches have tried to help them. They have acquired people along the way that are going to try to help them make this next step. But there's no better way to learn about the NFL and being a quarterback than from another NFL quarterback. This is what I know about Sam Bradford. Wherever he's been, everyone has loved him. He's also one of the brightest quarterbacks. He's been in a number of different systems, and he's been able to master those systems. He hadn't been able to stay healthy. Sam is a very clear-headed guy as far as a quarterback. He doesn't play the position with emotion. So as a rookie, you want one guy that you can rely on to ask a bunch of dumb questions that aren't public. Because when you get into meetings, you're watching film, the coach asks you a question, there's a lot of wrong answers. But a veteran can remove that burden from you because in private, you have asked him all those dumb questions that really help him learn and get acclimated, because Sam Bradford knows that Rosen is going to be the leader of this team. And I believe Sam Bradford's doing what I think is always the right thing to do, is help younger players the way other veteran players helped you.
You mentioned communication. We always hear about terminology. So I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Give me just generically what a play sounds like in the huddle in college. What a college quarterback would say. Like, can you give me an example of that?
Well, this is the biggest difference between the two. There ain't no cards on the NFL sideline holding it up, and it's a face, Scott Van Pelt, a mountain, and some type of cake or something, and then all the players.
So the quarterback didn't even in college necessarily have to call the play, because
the quarterback doesn't have to be a great leader.
Right. And give me, what does a play sound like in an NFL huddle?
Let's go from a 3-receiver set. Let's go trips right, scat right. Let's go 585. Let's go wide pump X. You're hot on the backside on 3.
And you've got to be able to translate that.
Yes,
instantly.
Absolutely. You got to be able to make eye contact to people and build demand. Trips right. Let's go scat right. Protection. Give me some time, guys. 585. Let's go wide pump X. You're hot on the backside. Let's do that on 3. Ready, set, break.
Okay, I'd run right into the huddle.
Right
into the tunnel.
Is that the hardest thing for the young quarterback?
Well, Chris made a good point, too. A lot of the college quarterbacks are given information from the sideline now. They get up there, they see what the defense is, then the coach tells them what to run after the coach has assessed the defense. So now coming to pro football, that doesn't happen. They've got to come in, they've got to be able to do that on their own. So they make that call, but they're also seeing a volume of defenses that they've had no exposure to in college football. Most college defenses are fairly basic, maybe a little unfair, but there's not volume.
It's not the complexity that there is in the NFL.
And every team you face is going to give you different challenges. And there's nobody, when you look across the defense, that isn't a good player. Now you add in disguise, you add in all the pre-snap things. You've got to do a lot of things to get it right.
Yeah, it's not only the athletic ability of the defenders the quarterbacks are going against, it's the technology and the different defenses that they can play. And they're never playing the same defense a half a second before the ball that they're playing a half a second after the ball. So something as simple as, man, they're playing cover 2. He asked Sam, how do you know that they were in cover 2? Sam would tell him the defensive end off the backside, he was coming. I knew he was coming, so they had to have cloud support. So just as simple as that, that's how you recognize cover 2. Those are the hundreds and thousands of little things veteran players already know, and they really help the young person and their overall growth.
Is it a factor for the Cardinals at all that they're giving Sam Bradford $20 million this year, knowing that Josh Rosen is sitting right there? I mean, for an NFL coach, how do you know when it's time to make that switch? I mean, you've obviously committed to Sam Bradford, but you've also drafted Josh Rosen.
Yeah, the $20 million, look, that's a cost of doing business. And we brought in Alan Faneca to New York because I had DeBrickashaw Ferguson at left tackle and I had Nick Mangold at center. And we paid more than we probably should have for Alan at that point. But we were paying for what he was going to do for those 2 other players. So he was going to model really good behavior. He made those 2 young players who were emerging that much better. So if you pay $20 million for Sam Bradford and you get a good season out of him, and then he trains the person that's going to come in and take his position, it's well worth it.
Hey, I know for a fact last year in Minnesota, when Minnesota made that run, where Sam Bradford, we didn't know if he was going to be at the beginning of the season before Case caught fire. I know from that locker room and from the staff, Sam Bradford and his overall attitude helped the Vikings and Case be able to take over. So what you're paying for with someone like Sam Bradford, because, yeah, the probability of him getting hurt are real high. But the type of person that he is and how much football he knows. That's what coach is saying. That's the normal price for doing business.
And it's important to know the Cardinals signed Sam Bradford already knowing they were trying and almost assuredly going to draft a quarterback.
Yes.
This is not a situation like Baltimore, where Baltimore went in the draft not knowing they're going to take a quarterback. They didn't take one with their pick initially, and then this guy we really like, he's available, we're going to trade back and go get him. Arizona knew they had to get a quarterback in this draft. They wanted to get a quarterback in last year's draft, if you remember, and I think it was Pat Mahomes. The Chiefs ended up trading in front of him and getting him. And Bruce Arians wanted him. So Sam Bradford, when he signs, knows they're almost assuredly taking quarterback in the first round. The Cardinals also, when they're evaluating who is our veteran stopgap, if you will. Now, Bradford's on the higher end of talent for the available veteran stopgaps, but that's not the only reason they sign him. They sign him because he's going to do these things. They sign him because of the stuff they knew, what Cece was talking about, how he was in Minnesota. And I think the Cardinals feel, listen, when you called it a good problem, it's a perfect word for it. Bradford is coming off the best football he's ever played. 2016 was the best season he's had as a pro. 2017, if you remember, through 2 weeks, the guy was unbelievable for Minnesota, and then he had that bone bruise that was, devastating for him. So I think they are fine with him playing as long as he can, as long as Rosen is developing in the practice
field. Do you
field.
see Rosen playing this season?
Well, not if Sam comes out and plays at the level that I think he can play and stays healthy. I don't see them making that switch. Now, whenever you have a number one draft pick sitting there on the bench, it doesn't take long for a lot of pressure to be put on you as a coach.
And especially
to put
a young
that guy in. A first-year coach, you're getting pressure from the owner. It could be from the GM. They're not there to sit very long. It's the same situation in Cleveland, same situation in New York, in Buffalo.
Chicago had it too with Trubisky.
Yeah, everybody wants to see what this kid can do, and people preach, wait. There's very little patience for that.
The Trubisky example is a good one because they signed people. They signed Mike Glennon with a lot of money, at least for what people thought Mike Glennon was going to get. With the Bradford situation, though, and Cece alluded to it, he's played 8 years in this league. He's played 16 games once. So with him, it's not always about, once he starts playing poorly. He, more so than any quarterback in recent memory, is going to get dinged up at some point. He's going to, at some point, maybe earlier than they think Rosen's ready, going to likely miss time, unfortunately, and that's where this development's really important.
Yeah, I think with the rookie coach, it's easier to go to the number one pick because that coach and that draft pick, they will be attached for a long time.
All right, Coach, stick around. Coming up, is Tom Brady still the best player in the NFL? His peers seem to think so. That's next on First Things First. All right, Coach, back to football. Tom Brady was voted MVP last season by the writers. Tom Brady was also voted #1 player in the league by his peers, the players, for the second straight year. This is to go along with 5 Super Bowl rings, 3 MVPs, and 1 supermodel wife. Coach, wife aside, does Tom Brady have the best NFL resume of all time? Let's include the wife.
I think it's pretty clear that he has the best resume of all time. And the thing to me that's different than some of the other candidates is Tom's doing it in a salary cap world. Tom's doing it where the pressure is on to create parity across the league, and he's done it over a substantial amount of time. And to get an MVP and to get the recognition from his peers at this point in his career, to me, I don't know who else could do that.
Go ahead, C.
I mean, we have not seen the type of improvement in a great player because typically all our great players have come from a great athletic resume. I mean, phenomenal athlete, height, weight, strength, even the quarterbacks, like our best quarterback, tremendous athletes. And for Tom Brady to be benched in college, to be an afterthought in the draft, but to see him develop his body, develop his fast twitch muscles, that he can play quarterback effectively past the age of 40, it's a phenomenal story. And he is better now than at any other point in his career. Like at any other point in his career to be able to play quarterback the way he's playing. And it's not just accuracy. I mean, Tom Brady has mastered the game. When he said, I have the answers to the test, why would I stop taking the test? Everyone should have been like, whoa, That was a phenomenal statement. Like we talked about the young quarterbacks and their ability. Tom dominates the game with the pacing that he wants to play with, throws the ball where he wants to, and he dictates to the defense like no other quarterback.
Well, and as far as does he have the greatest resume ever, do you want to pick winning? Do you want to pick stats? Do you want to pick a compilation of the two? Because he's got all of it. Just because you would have never thought he was going to eclipse Peyton Manning statistically, but because of longevity, he will.
Yes.
In some categories, he already has. In most categories, he will. Right now, he's third all-time in touchdowns. He will finish first or second all-time. He and Drew Brees are fighting for that. Right now, he's fourth all-time in yards. He will finish first or second with that. Once again, Drew Brees right there with him. He's third in quarterback rating. He might finish. Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are ahead of him, but typically late in your career, those final few seasons tick you down on the quarterback rating stats, just like field goal percentage in the NBA. Brady's is ticking up. We'll see what happens to those guys late. He's been to 8 Super Bowls. The next guy on the list, forget quarterbacks, is Mike Lodish, who is a nose tackle. He went to 6 of them. And the reason I bring him up is you can't even find a guy that bounced around like a good player that was on a bunch of, really good. No, 6 is the next most. Brady's been the starting quarterback in 8 of them. He's won 5. No one else has won more than 4. Like, there's almost no metric you can find where he doesn't check the box.
I love talking to my boys about Tom Brady because, to me, Tom teaches a lot of lessons. When his first year, and nobody believes this, he wasn't very good, and he struggled, and he comes out as a 6th-round draft pick, and even as a 6th-round draft pick, it's not like he went into New England and lit it up. He struggled, but he worked at it. He was consistent, and then when he got his opportunity, he was able to take advantage of it. Now he's had all of this success, and he's still able to find a way to grow. And he's finding a way to be humble and to be coachable with everything pressuring athletes in society to be about themselves.
And we know what his resume says. So, Cece, what does it mean that this many years into the league, his peers still think he's the #1 player? I mean, to have that respect by all these guys that you play with across the league.
It just really speaks to how well he's played. And I think a lot of that respect is based on there's no quarterback in the modern era that has done what Tom Brady, or close to what Tom Brady has done, with the type of personnel he's done it with. Now, people will say, well, Bill Belichick, I could do that. Well, there's not a lot of quarterbacks could have spent that amount of time with Bill Belichick and continue to grow and continue to evolve and still have the system be fresh. Man, it's hard to play in New England. It's harder even to play with Belichick. So what Tom has done, not only from a physical standpoint, but a mental standpoint, and there is no one. I was on the field for this year's Super Bowl, and there's no one that wanted to play that game like Tom Brady. I mean, he was just like a kid. I remember him taking the field. Someone was holding his helmet, and it was just a headshot of him. And to think this was his 8th Super Bowl, and I've never even played in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady was like his rookie year, like his 5th year in the league, like his first Super Bowl. And that type of thing has allowed him to be able to stay at this age, I mean, to still be the best player in the league.
Yeah, I love when guys say, well, if I was with Tom or with Bill Belichick, I could have done this, I could have done that. Yeah, could you last? Could you last 17 years? Could you put yourself and humble yourself enough to be consistently coached as you have that level of success? And look, that's not for everyone, and ego gets in the way of a lot of guys' growth.
And the other thing, and I'm glad you brought up his rookie year, and I'm glad you brought up he was benched at Michigan, because this is what makes the Tom Brady story maybe the most unique story in the history of high-level American sports. Think about the guys who are in the contention for the GOAT conversation in any other sport and their pedigree. Kareem, he was the best basketball player alive when he was 16 years old. Yeah. I mean, honestly, he's #1 pick of the draft. Jordan hits a game-winning shot his freshman year at UNC, #3 pick of the draft.
Yeah, even though he got cut in the 9th grade, Michael Jordan was first-team All-American his senior year.
Gretzky in high school. He was a young 14-year-old who was one of the greatest players in Canada.
Absolutely. LeBron was the prodigy coming out. Yeah. Go to baseball. Like, Mike Trout is the guy everyone loves right now. Instantly. Bryce Harper, #1 pick of the draft. You want to go back further. Griffey Jr., right? Like, #1 pick of the draft. We can go. You look at the other guys, say, well, Montana was a 3rd-round pick. Yeah. After starring at Notre Dame, going to San Francisco, and people saying he is the guy. Elway, who went to 5 Super Bowls, #1 pick of the draft.
Yeah.
We have no
drafted in baseball also.
Right. We have no precedent for this. We have precedent of guys being late drafted picks and turning into Richard Sherman. All pros. Maybe one day a Hall of Famer. Wow. Guy like you, supplemental draft pick. Turn it Hall of Famer. Wow. But a guy to be a 6th-round pick benched in college, to be his rookie year is the 4th quarterback on the roster, right?
Yeah.
You guys held 4 quarterbacks, which is to your guys' credit to say we're going to hold the roster spot because we see something in this guy. And to turn into this, there is no precedent for it. There's no other example of, oh, it's like that. There is nothing like that.
It's true. What he's done is unprecedented. But I'm curious, as you coached with Bill Belichick, if you could say is there any part of what Tom Brady's done that is because of Bill Belichick?
Yeah, definitely. You need that marriage of the head coach and the quarterback. And
how much?
You need it. There's a significant amount of that. And look, Bill builds a complete team. They play complementary football. There's an unselfishness to the approach. But as a quarterback, you have to embrace that unselfishness. You've got to be willing to throw 10 hitches. You've got to be willing to run the ball 50 times. And a lot of quarterbacks, as they get more and more successful, they can't do that. It's about their numbers. It's about their profile. That's not what it's about for Tom. And to me, that's another thing that makes him so special.
Yeah, every horse needs a track, and every great thoroughbred needs a trainer and a bridle in its mouth. And you can go back and forth to be how much credit you can give Belichick, how much credit you're going to give Tom. Ultimately, you have to give both of them a lot of credit because both of them were able to come up with a system that has been the most successful winning system that we have seen in pro football and has endured the salary cap, changes in the game, changes in the rules, and also a tremendous amount of scrutiny. So I don't like to get into, who's more important. Neither one of them get where they're getting. But let's look at the other great coaches. Chuck Noll, what does he do without Bradshaw?
Right.
What does my man Lombardi, what does he do without Bart Starr? So you're not playing this game of football and being successful as a coach unless you have a dude.
What does Danny Ainge do without Casey Jones? I mean, I get it.
And
wave the towel.
and I think the biggest thing for players is respect of their peers. They care. People care. Football players care much more about what Chris Carter says about them because he's one of them than what I will ever say. They've been doing this list. The NFL has been for 8 years. Brady's never finished worse than 4th. He's been, according to his peers, he's been the best, second best, third, or fourth best player in the league since they started doing this list. It's testament to him.
Coach, thank you so much for being with us today. Appreciate it. Coming up, look who's here. Ice Cube.
Oh, here we go. Cube, what up, baby?
On Friday, Big 3 basketball is live on Fox. A new wave of superstars have joined some of the game's greatest legends in a new season. Check it out Friday at 8 Eastern, live on Fox, or stream it all on the Fox Sports app. And who better to join us to talk about it than rapper, actor, everything, and Big 3 founder, Ice Cube.
What's up, man? How you
What's up, Ice Cube? How are you?
Hey,
what's going on,
man,
bro?
Hands still can grip. Yeah.
We go back. We go back.
Listen, we've had a number of guests on the show since we started, a lot of guests. I don't think I've had a guest come on that these two were more, me too, but these two more excited and giddy about than when you came out here today. I have to just tell you
have
that.
a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, this man right here made the one-hand catch routine in the NFL. Nobody would dare to do it on purpose, but this man right here.
And I just happened to grow up in the era where Q, my boy Snoop, like, they have always given me a lot of respect for what I did. And there was other people out there, Jerry Rice, Michael Irvin, but we grew up in an era, and they got me hooked on music. And I still listen to him. I got your station on Pandora. Like, we was blasted in the office
it's
today.
It's great to finally have you on the show. You know, I spent a lot of time in L.A. It's great to have you out here in New York. Thank you.
Man, you know, I love to talk sports and talking Big Three. You know, I mean, you got my attention.
Let's talk some Big Three. We start with some Week 1 headlines. Trilogy's Rashard McCants arrived to the arena in a Joker mask on Friday. Later in the night, newcomer Nate Robinson hits a game winner. Stole the mask from McCants. The two almost come to blows afterwards. Ice Cube, what'd you make of this situation? How heated did this actually get?
Nate was pretty heated. He didn't really like the fact that Rashard came on with the mask, and he thought that was disrespectful. And he didn't hide it at all. He went right at him from the start of the game. And, it's good. That's what you want. You know, you want real competition.
You want real competition. The second year of Big Three, you and I talking off air, one of the things you were excited about is the level of talent. You added someone like Nate Robinson in year number 2. How excited are you that now, not only is this taking off, but guys who you really want to see play in Big Three are now being involved in what you're doing?
I mean, it's great, but it all comes down to the basketball. It don't matter the names. It matters how good is the basketball at the end of the day. And the basketball is every game gets better and better. Guys understand 3-on-3, what's expected of them. I mean, new guys got a newfound respect for the league. Guys like Baron Davis, guys like Big Baby, Chris
Carlos
Anderson.
Boozer's a new guy this year, right?
Yeah, so this was their first game in the Big Three, so now they understand what it takes. And, it ain't easy, I mean? They got to go hard.
The other thing that was good about the opening weekend is the defending champ lost. I know you're the commissioner, so you're the founder, so you're not supposed to be rooting. But as a viewer, did Trilogy go undefeated last year?
Yeah.
Okay, so they were undefeated last year in the champions. To lose if they win the first game by 20 points, there's a little of
and tell
suspense.
everyone who's on Trilogy.
Trilogy, you got Kenyon Martin, you got Al Harrington, you got Deion Glover, Rashard
Good team.
McCants.
Rashard, and so the fact that they lost, and listen, Nate likes to fight guy. Like, you can't be that size and get to where he got without being a guy that'll mix it up. That was an awesome start of the weekend. Like, you couldn't have, to me at least, scripted it better for that team to lose and say, okay, this year is going to be different. It's not going to be 10-0 walk to the championship again.
Yeah, I mean, it adds great parity to the league. You don't want to know who's going to win it, and they have kind of created this evil empire kind of feel, and everybody want to take them down. And what's cool is in the Big Three, the champions have to keep their team intact. They have to truly defend. They can't draft. They can't trade. So they are locked. Now, all the other teams kind of know what to shoot at and know what to pick. So teams have re-upped. They're ready to go, and they go in that Trilogy neck. But I think, they didn't have Big Al.
Right.
If Al Harrington was in there, it might have been a different story. You never know.
All right, so let's talk about you finish off the first season. You were able to watch it. You were able to, I'm sure, tweak some things. What's going on? What are we looking forward to in the second season that you were able to either make better or tweak or change to make this the season you're really looking forward to?
I mean, being live, to me, that's, a major leap. You really can't put your stake in professional sports until you're live on TV.
Yeah.
So, that to me is a leap forward. I think we're better at presenting the game. If you look at our first game in Brooklyn last year compared to our first game this year, it's leaps and bounds. And the competition is better. Guys are in shape. Guys re-up. Teams are stacked a little bit better. So
guys knew how hard it was going to be, what you were alluding to earlier. Guys knew that you can't just show up like, I played in the league. I mean,
it's all going to come back.
You have to actually be ready to play ball.
Yeah, you'll be embarrassed if you just come out there. Because here's why. It's a 14-second shot clock. Now, that right there in itself keeps you moving and keeps you going. It's 3-on-3 basketball, so there's nowhere to hide. Nobody's gonna, the help is probably not coming. You gotta D up, and you gotta have all-around skills. You gotta be able to dribble, pass, and shoot, or you're gonna get exposed. So it's a game where you gotta be good at basketball to be able to flourish.
Yeah, you talk about in year number 2 doing some different things, the talent level being up. We saw some great debuts by some of those players. Big Baby Davis, Nate Robinson. We saw the highlight, Carlos Boozer. It brings the quality. But also, you've added a couple new venues in a couple new cities. How important is it to add those new cities? And how important was the first kickoff in Houston with 16,000 plus being in attendance?
Oh, man, you know, it was incredible. You know, Houston really came out for us. We did a lot for the community out there in Houston and did a lot with the Mayor Turner. Yep. You know, he was great. So, you know, with this league, what's cool about it, we can go anywhere. You know, it's no home cities. It's no home teams. So we can do 10 cities in any place in the world. So it's a great festival of basketball history. And if we come anywhere near your city, you got to come, because there's no guarantee that we're gonna be back.
All right, I got a very important question. Has Gary Payton calmed down at all?
No.
No. I mean,
we don't want him to. No. That's why I let trash talking in the league, because I feel it's something that we've lost in sports, which is, you know, the thing where we have to, you know, get back to as far as, you know, guys going at each other in the right way, getting up for each other. Trash talking is fine. You know what I mean? As long as it don't go overboard, as long as it don't go to taunting.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't get disrespectful.
Yeah, a little bit of lip back and forth will make guys play harder. And we've lost a little bit of edge in America on that, because we're so clean and, you know,
PC a little bit?
correct.
Yeah, we are. You've got just about everybody. Every name in basketball is part of this now. Is there a guy out there that you love or you're still trying to convince to play this year? Maybe you tried last year as well?
I mean, Kobe, Paul Pierce, KG, Tim Duncan. I mean, who else out there that – it's a lot of names out there that people still
Paul might need to hit
play.
the gym, but I think the other guy's ready to go.
Yeah, Paul, I'm still waiting on the answer if he's going to play or not. You know what I mean? He said – I might play. I think I am. I might. And then I didn't hear from him again.
Yeah, it sounds like his commentary.
Yep.
It sounds like Paul Pierce.
I don't know. LeBron, oh, he's not that good. Oh, he's the greatest ever. Oh, yeah. I understand. Week number 2, what are you looking forward to? You guys are traveling to Chicago, right?
Chicago.
Okay.
I mean, you got the rematch of the championship. You got a trilogy versus the Three-Headed Monsters. And Three-Headed Monsters got a chip on their shoulder. You know, they lost by 4 points, 5 points in the championship. So they got a chip. They ready to go at Trilogy. Trilogy, you know, hopefully they'll be at full strength.
They should have Al Harrington in that game. They should, right?
They should have Al Harrington in that game. But it's a good game between Power and the Three's Company, because both of them showed up. Both of them got great squads. You got Baron Davis on one side. You got Corey McGarry
Baron
on the
Davis
other
was
side.
great this week.
Yeah, Baron Davis was great, and he just now getting his feet wet. You know, he said, once I get all the way in shape and get ready, you know, I'm gonna be a clown in this league. So I'm like, man, that's why we got you.